Okay, Sue Gray Part 2. I have made copious notes, so I hope you're all getting ready to settle in because it could be a long one. Now, Sue Gray Part 1 was a couple of weeks back when I said to you a lot of ministers and Boris Johnson were staking a lot of currency on Sue Gray. They were saying the impartial Sue Gray, the fantastic Sue Gray, the highly respected Sue Gray. It got my alarm bells ringing because it felt as though the lady doth protest too much, methinks, when you heard so much of effusive praise about her, while staking Boris Johnson's career on her findings. So then looking into it, there was, of course, that report from 2015 on the BBC by Clive Cook, highlighting all the times where Sue Gray had actually been involved in quite some dodgy dealings, quite a lot of covering up. And so it looked as though she was really the cover-up specialist, or as I said in that video, the government's equivalent of Pulp Fiction's Winston Wolfe. Examples being that she told Michael Gove that if he used his wife's email for departmental business, it's not FOIable. Like, who tells a minister that? And actually, she was wrong, and it cost money. But also, she allowed special advisors, conservative special advisors, to be out and about campaigning when actually they're not allowed to do that. And she was questioned on this 7 times and refused to give an answer. She also was a key part of the Andrew Lansley refusal to release his diary about meetings that it had in the build-up to his NHS Health and Social Care Act. And again, that cost the public tens of thousands of pounds of public money, her trying to withhold that. And also, she has been or had taught lots of special advisors how to engage in complete email wiping, the double deletion, not just their own records, but on the server in order to wreck it. Now, this is not someone that you would associate with transparency. Anyway, this is largely where I left it at the end of the last video, saying this looks like the reason why so many in the cabinet are saying she's unimpeachable. She's the absolute authority in terms of what will come out at the end of the day, and you shouldn't doubt what she has to say, because they thought that her being an employee of Simon Case and Boris Johnson, she would ensure that the PM has something nice to work with, that it gives him enough space to get out of things, because she's done this for other Conservative ministers before. And that's largely where I left it last time. Now let's develop that a bit further with more information and develop the whole story. So it wasn't just that piece by Clive Cook on the BBC website in 2015 that called her behaviour into question for engaging in cover-up activities for the government. There was also Open Democracy, who noted her role in the infected blood scandal of 2018, where she was associated with blocking FOI requests into that scandal for the sake of transparency. Then after she left her role from 2012 to 2018 as Director General for Propriety and Ethics in government, she went to Northern Ireland from 2018 to 2020. And the newsletter, which is a Belfast-based daily publication, also complained about her because they received documentation that a new role that she'd gone out there and created, a transparency champion, she had actually been very opaque about how it was created and how the people, the person chosen was appointed. So in the name of transparency and openness, which was her role, she actually did a whole load of internal covering up. And when these documents were released, there were quite a lot of bits redacted that other documentation showed had been not the desire of other civil servants that wanted to put that information out there, but actually Sue Gray saying, no, that will not go out. So she had the habit there as well. So this seems to be, her behavioural pattern and her expertise. Now, why hasn't the Labour Party been highlighting this? Well, probably because it's not cool for politicians to go attacking civil servants, because civil servants can't defend themselves in the press. That's the law, and it wouldn't look good, and it would open them up to a whole load of flack as to, how dare you, go and attack Sue Gray and what are you doing? But they have pointed out that, firstly, her terms of reference for this investigation are very loose. I mean, she inherited it from Simon Case, who was first given this to investigate the first party scandal before it was found out that he himself had ordered one of the parties, and so that's her boss. So then he goes off and she inherits the same terms of reference, which are just to bring clarity to the matter. But of course, it has become an open, sprawling mess since, with many other drag and drop parties brought in. So Labour have highlighted that. They've also highlighted the fact that she is not independent, because her role is to report to Boris Johnson, right? So she's not independent at all. And this is something whereby senior Conservatives have been constantly misleading in the press, and the broadcast media haven't challenged it enough. The line being given out is that, the independent Sue Gray, the independent Sue Gray. I was hearing it on the radio today, Conservative ministers repeating that, and it's just straight up false. So Labour have been having a go at that, but those are the only two things that they can really go on, apart from, of course, saying we don't need the Sue Gray inquiry to know that he's been misleading the public and to know that he has handled all of this badly, and trying to encourage the Met Police to come in, which is another side issue, because, of course, the Met Police have held off, saying they're waiting on Sue Gray's inquiry to see if she provides any evidence of criminal wrongdoing. And there are various levels of complexity here. Firstly, it's ridiculous that the Met should be saying that, because if they were to investigate me for anything and I said, hold a sec, I'll get my employee to do a little investigation first, and you hold off until they report to me, then I can share that with you. It's absurd. That is clearly a two-tier system in law, that some people would have that privilege and others wouldn't. And furthermore, Sue Gray does not have the capacity to either advise on what's criminal or not. That is completely out of her remit. And secondly, she doesn't even have the powers to go and investigate what could be criminal or not, because she doesn't have the same authority that, for example, a judge would have. So that's a whole mess as well. And this is where the media have been massively letting us down. I mean, I was listening to Radio 4 last night, and they did a bit on Sue Gray, and it was a complete puff piece that did not include any of this information that I had told you before about her history, about where she'd got things wrong, about where she'd been involved in cover-up for ministers to whom she reported. So you're seeing from the broadcast media them giving the Conservative Party full rein to say, oh, she's independent, she's an authoritative voice, and then them themselves doubling down on that and supporting it. So it's really sad to see that the mainstream media, particularly the BBC, have been totally incapable on that front, and they are a public disservice as usual on anything weighty. So it looked from that stage, or from all of that, that Boris Johnson would largely have it sewn up, in terms of a report comes through that would give him enough space in order to do whatever he wanted to do and wriggle out of it, throw other people under the bus. But it looks like he's messed up somewhat. And he's messed up because this is exactly what he's gone around telling people, and his aides have gone around telling people. He is reported to have said, and this is in the Sunday Times today, that did a big piece on all of this, to Tory peers, don't worry, this is all in hand. It's going to blow over soon. I'm safe. And when this blows over, then we'll move on to other things. And apparently his aides have been going around saying as well that this report is going to essentially let Boris Johnson off the hook. Now, it is reported that Sue Gray knows this, and it is making her angry because, of course, it completely undermines her authority while she's doing an investigation. And if she doesn't come up with something now, people are going to pass it off as just, yeah, it was an open secret that she's completely toothless and useless. Tons has been invested in her reputation on this, so that has been an absolute blunder from Boris Johnson and his team. And this is against a backdrop of polling showing that 63% of people don't trust this investigation to come up with anything fair. So there's real pressure on Sue Gray and her reputation now in all of this. So here's the thing. This has also helped extend Sue Gray's investigation as other parties have been exposed that she was not aware of by her investigation, such as the party before the funeral for the Duke of Edinburgh. And so all of this thing coming onto her plate is probably actually changing the dynamics of her investigation quite substantially. So Boris Johnson's original plan would have been that on Friday just gone, that's when the report was due to come out, which would have been nice and simple and clear and said, oh, bad culture in Downing Street. But the Prime Minister, just back from illness, was not aware of it when stuff happened into his garden. He went out, he should have known better. But anyway, it's largely forgivable, but not forgivable from some of the senior staff that were involved in it. And then Boris Johnson could say, right, big clear out, all of this, shouldn't have happened on my watch, but I was ill, and then it, started on my watch. I'm going to clear them out now. I'm going to overhaul the culture here. And then everyone can roll in behind him, all the ministers, and say, yep, well, firstly, Boris Johnson apologized. Then he cleared out the wrong people. And now he's getting on with the people's priorities and that agenda. And that would have been the news for today, the Sunday news for today, which usually sets the agenda for a week. It would be to the Sunday Times and the Mail on Sunday, details of who's possibly being cleared out or who is being cleared out, and the new agenda that's going to be set, which is cut back on VAT for energy and fuel costs, extra money here and there in order to help out struggling people, and moving it on. So by the time we get to PMQs on Wednesday, then if Keir Starmer and others try to bring up Partygate, it'll be like, nah, that was all last week. The apologies were had. A clear out is underway. There's a new agenda going forward to really help people. You're barking about something that's already come and gone. Let's move on. That was the plan, but it's not going to happen like that now, is it? Because the inquiry has been extended, because Dominic Cummings will probably be speaking with Sue Gray on Monday, then this whole report is now going to be delayed until further down in this week, and could be delayed further if new revelations come out. Now, is it likely that new revelations will come out? Could be, because there is a report in The Independent, and this is dead important, that there are 3 people in Downing Street who have reported that they have not volunteered to Sue Gray, evidence that they have of partying, of drinking, of dancing and all the rest, because there is a culture of fear in Downing Street around this. So that goes to show that Sue Gray does not have all the evidence that exists there, which highlights the fact that she doesn't have the means to get at all the evidence because she doesn't have the legal powers. This is where the Met should be stepping in. So it could be that if things go badly for Boris Johnson, more of this will come out on a voluntary basis, right? But even if it doesn't, there's enough going around now that it's clear that the Met should be stepping in to cover bits that Sue Gray's inquiry cannot cover. Okay, you've also got Dominic Raab, who has done the rounds and indicated that the report will go to Boris Johnson, and Boris Johnson will be a decision maker on how much gets released. Now, if that's the case, then everyone is going to cry foul, aren't they? So you've got that complexity as well. And as I said before, with polling showing most people don't trust this puts Boris Johnson cooking in the bubbling vat for longer. And he's going to have another very uncomfortable PMQs on Wednesday, because Partygate is not over. Sue Gray's report will not have been delivered by Wednesday, and it could be extended even further. This is going to be torturing the Conservative Party, who are now embroiled in blackmail scandals as well. So when Sue Gray's report does come out, what happens then? It's not the pretty dynamics that it could have been for Boris Johnson previously, because as you can see, there are so many messy strands to it. Firstly, if there's any indication of wrongdoing on his part, then he could be called that could be called of him that he refers himself to the advisor on ministers' interests, who is Lord Geit. And everyone's going to choke on their coffee because of that, because Lord Geit was the one that did that investigation into Boris Johnson sprucing up his house with gold wallpaper, got completely taken down the path at the back garden to the fairies, got lied to, and then Boris Johnson merely apologized to him, and Lord Geit accepted that apology, but was a bit angry apparently. So that's completely and utterly ineffectual, and will remind people that the whole system is laughable and corrupt. The other thing that can happen is that if the Sue Gray report, after speaking with Cummings and others, finds that Boris Johnson had indeed been informed that it was a party coming up, well, then he would have lied in the House of Commons. He would have lied from the dispatch box, and that will be official and that will be provable. And that is a breach of the minister's code of conduct, and it's a resignation offence. Now, usually such offences are referred to the Prime Minister, right? Because it's the Prime Minister that then demands that people correct record and apologise or resign. But there's also another route, which is that this can get referred to the Speaker, and then the Speaker in turn can refer the matter to the Privileges Committee, where the offending individual would have to justify why they said what they said. So as you can see already, there's lots and lots of things that can drag out and get messy and go wrong for Boris Johnson. And for all those Conservative MPs, the disgruntled Red Wall MPs that have been blackmailed hard, and some of the other MPs that have called for his resignation before, or just know that Boris Johnson is getting increasingly toxic and losing his magic in the marginal seats, that's then their opportunity when the Sue Gray report comes out and it opens up a mess to have their vote of no confidence. And this is where, again, you come in, because it is shocking that at this stage, there are so few Conservative MPs that have actually called for Boris Johnson's resignation. And so you can still be writing to those MPs and writing to your local Conservative associations and writing to your local press about this is ridiculous, because regardless of Sue Gray's report, and she is an employee of the government, we can already see that he has absolutely made a complete mess of this, and that he has been dishonest in Parliament as far as we can all judge, right? And so he's completely lost moral authority in this country on these matters. And so this is where we should all be putting the pressure on Conservative politicians. But there we go. I mean, that's it. Oh, there one more thing about the press that I forgot to say. And really, here in this bit on Sue Gray, let me read you a little bit, which says that according to some people, Gray advised officials on how to thwart freedom of information requests by double deleting evidence. A ministerial aide described her as the person who covered up for Sir Cover Up. That was her boss. And the tabloid nickname for Sir Jeremy Haywood. And so then they continue about what her report might find. So just as a little aside, we all know that she's a cover-up artist. That's what she does. Haha, how quaint. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, let's get back to the report. And this is what really annoys me about the media in this country. There's this complete refusal to acknowledge very overt systems of corruption that happen in front of us. They just say, "Oh yes, well, that's a bit of a problem, maybe, but let's go on and pretend that we are a super efficient, super clean, honourable country." And I think this is really doing us down, because we do need to call these things out on their own terms. And the way that the Met have also behaved through this whole circus has also been absolutely abysmal, and we should all be putting pressure on that too. And well done, the Good Law Project, for the work that you're doing on that. So I'll wrap it up there now, but I just wanted to, as best as I could, aggregate all of the information around this and put it in a logical construct of how you can see how the Conservative Party put all their eggs in the Sue Gray basket, knowing the service that she has provided to Tory ministers before, but now, by being over complacent in that, with a completely useless and lackluster media and a useless and lackluster Met, they thought they were going to get away with it, but because it's opened up such a Pandora's box of mess, they could actually now be quite screwed, because it's getting more and more messy. And that's what I wanted to convey to you. And thank you for sticking with me for such a long video. Thanks.